Can Man City win a double treble? That's what we're going to discuss here. Now, it's that time of the season, isn't it, where we kind of try and find some cracks in this Man City side. I was reading an interview with Guardiola for a video I was working on, and it was just after Liverpool had pushed them all the way and Gundogan had scored the winner for them to just about do it. And he'd had this interview and he said, how do you find the pressure of all of it? And how do you keep going when you've won so many trophies? And he says, I love it when people want me to fail. I love it. And I read that and I thought, especially after everything that's happened and just generally, with the Klopp story or just wanting a different winner of the Premier League generally for a bit of variety, I thought, maybe there's going to be a jadedness to Man City this year. And I think it's a bit a little bit clunky at times. I think they've certainly not blown too many teams completely out of the water as of yet. But when I read that, I thought, I forgot about that sort of Michael Jordan, those elite people and what they do to allow themselves to keep finding the hunger. So do you think that Man City, I think Pep Guardiola will probably have that hunger again to find new heights. But how do you feel around Man City at the moment? Because the cavalry's back, isn't it? KDB and Haaland are on their way, yeah. Sam. How you feel about Man City? To do a double treble would be outrageous.
Well, look, as long as Pep is in the job, he's 100% committed and he has the energy, right? Because I think he's cut from the same cloth as Jurgen Klopp there, where he would, if something inside him was telling him that enough is enough, he would also make the same announcement. So as long as he's there and as long as he's going and as long as he's motivated, and City are going to be the demons, aren't they? And
you say demons. Do you think there is that devil in Guardiola that he's quietly to himself? He's gone, I made him quit. He did to Klopp a little bit.
I think he'll miss Klopp. Because Klopp has clearly driven him to new heights. These two, pushing each other to 90 plus points in multiple seasons. This is why they're so good. It's because of the presence of the other party. So I think he'll really miss Klopp, even if it does lead to more titles. Who knows? The fact that Liverpool are there stoking those fires and driving them to be better and better and better, he'll really miss Klopp. But obviously Klopp is still here until the end of June, so he gets another 5 months of it, which is great. And yeah, City have been okay to start the season. They always are okay before January, and then at some point in January or February, Pep changes the team, creates a new tactical wrinkle, and doesn't let anyone have enough time to figure it out. Have you noticed this pattern?
I actually think
15 games or so is not enough time for anyone to figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he drops it in February so that no one has enough time to come up with the answer.
I think he just becomes more consistent in the second half of the season. They just tinker less. So you suddenly go, I know who's going to start. Maybe they might change the right winger or the left winger, but typically you go, okay, this is the base of his team. Like this season, Ruben Diaz has been on the bench multiple times. Speaking to what you said at the start, I've thought this for ages. You can't deliberately do this, but I think there is times in the season where in the first half of the season he actually goes, I'm just going to muck about loads. Because there's just
what's that in Spanish? Just going to muck about loads.
It's just like the start of this season, he as I say, Diaz was on the bench 3 games straight for no apparent reason. They were conceding goals non-stop, then he brings him back, then takes him out, then brings him back. I just think there's
Is it mucking about or is it safeguarding? I think my view of it is that Pep kind of looks at the first half. It looks at the season as almost like 3 chunks. So you look to have that solid start to the season. Then once you get the Champions League, you have to be kind of clever with what you're doing. So that's why you might have some people on the bench. Or maybe even breaks it down into more chunks than that. Because I think when it gets to Christmas, you start to see, who's this Oscar Bob guy? You start to see these new players. It was Rico Lewis the year before. It's been other players in the past. There's been times when Foden's really crucial and then he comes out. Or Sterling's really crucial and then he comes out. Yep. And it is all working towards that pattern of being, I think when other people are tired between November and February, that's when it's as much as tinkering, it's just rotating.
I think that's how he's staying motivated. So like when and we've said this before, there'll be periods where like Foden's unplayable and then he'll go, I'm going to take you out because I want to get it out of this guy now. And I think he goes, Sterling, you can give me those 10. Now you're done, you can give me a 10. And I think when players are sort of going, I'm like a bit done with this season, he's going, yeah, but I'm not. And like we are this many points behind because I started him and I bought Oscar Bob and I turned Rico Lewis into an inverted right back midfielder or whatever it is. Yeah. And I think that is how he just keeps going. If I just keep changing and it doesn't work sometimes, but eventually it's going to work, that's how I just keep going and staying motivated.
But you know, it's a bit like, it's like an 800 meter run. But Liverpool and Arsenal, they're doing the whole run, right? Whereas Man City are doing a relay of 200-meter run. So it's that as well. I think you kind of like you will make those little changes and then gets to March and goes right. That's the team, And maybe it's Grealish going to come back? Jeremy Doku seems a bit quieter in recent months. Is that because it's amazing how he does turn it around? And coming back to that interview with him right at the start, it was enemies. He said, "I need enemies." Yeah. So that I think is an interesting one. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, in front of the cameras, I think there will be like so much love. I think he needs Klopp as an enemy. And I think actually, I think he will love the idea of spoiling the party, right?
I don't think he needs to look too far to find enemies. I think he's pretty good at creating them in his mind, because I'm pretty sure he reads Twitter. Because he has
he's got a burner. He's got
a burner because we know he has, because he has referenced the overcomplication thing. He's talked about it. It's someone, either him or someone, is looking at Twitter and going, "Look at this! Look, he's done it again. I think he's pretty good at making the enemies that he needs to motivate himself. And this is what top athletes and top competitors do, right? They find a way to motivate themselves. And if that's to fabricate something, or go on Twitter and look at whatever someone is actually posting about him. If that's what you need to stoke the fires, then off you go. And look what it does. Every February, he comes up with something we've never seen before. 4 centre-backs, Pep, 4. Turns out it can't be beaten. If that's what he needs to continue to innovate and to win, fine.
In a way, to what you just said there, like I actually think maybe the motivation he needed, Klopp might have just given it to him. And now Pep's going,
I fear that, yeah.
Hey, hold on a minute. He's like, everyone feels sorry for Klopp. I do love him. We do enjoy a wine, but
wouldn't a Klopp send-off be lovely? Yeah. Would it?
Yeah.
Well, and in terms of a mindset, I think we've seen some of those speeches in the meeting rooms with him as well. And I think he would quietly go, like this is we're the villains here. Yeah. Like we need to be the villains here, and that's okay. That's actually a really good mind. That's a cold, calm, but motivated mindset to have as a group of players. I think that's why. I'm an hour in the Premier League, and I think what I keep seeing is just the sort of eulogies time and again. And as much as he'll be on Twitter, he'll be watching those bits and pieces as well. And it will, I think it will just really, really fuel them when it's exactly what they needed. Yeah. I think it's because I think at some point you can't, when you have had such a gluttony, you have to, you will lose just an edge of hunger. Yeah. Now maybe Liverpool are, have so much hunger now because this is your last chance. This is your deadline. Yeah. With Klopp, that might make it a little bit different. Who knows? But at the moment, they're 2 points behind where they were after 20 Premier League games last season. And going into the different tournaments, how do you think, who can stop them?
I mean, who can stop them in the Champions League? Who did they beat in the very latter stages last year? Obviously, they beat Inter in the final. Maybe a touch fortunate to do so, genuinely, watching that one. And then Real Madrid over 2 legs in the semi. I look at those two and think, they look pretty good this year, and I think they could give City a nice test. Outside of that, I can't see a lot on the continent. I can see Liverpool and I can see Arsenal over 2 legs if they were to meet in the Champions League, giving them a problem and maybe knocking them out. But spreading your gaze a little bit further afar, I mean, I'm looking for answers here, but I can only see Inter and Madrid as teams that are actually capable of doing this.
Defensively, for me, I think that's the thing with Man City, and especially in a cup competition, you've just got to get to 90 minutes, and you've just got to get to another 90 minutes. And with that in mind, I think Arsenal are capable of shutting them out. I think Liverpool are to a point, and Liverpool also have more options from an attacking point of view, which is why I've always put them ahead of Arsenal this season. So I think those two teams, they are the two. And if you think of, say, like Liverpool back in the day, they weren't as good as Chelsea, but they kind of had that little bit extra to get themselves over the line in the Champions League, and that's what you're hoping for, and that's why we love cup competitions, right?
Yeah, I can't see anyone outside of Arsenal stopping them in the Champions League. Maybe in a final, I think City will make the final, then it's a toss of a coin. Like Madrid could turn up, there could be a red card at half time, but from where we're sitting now, I just don't know.
That's the standard, is it? Someone needs to be red carded.
Literally, that's literally what.
But and I mean, look, Man City fans are probably getting annoyed because we don't want you to win things. You've won everything, all right? Yeah. You've won everything,
and they are the villains this year. But I don't think they were last year. To be fair, I think there were a fair few people that probably wanted to get over that last hump and actually win the Champions League, the last thing to tick off. For me personally, I wanted to see English players winning big trophies. I always want English players to score penalties whenever they step up, and I always want English players to win finals when they're in
Brexit.
And City have a lot of English players.
Yeah, there's trauma behind that. Yeah. when it comes to the penalties. Yeah. So okay, how will it end? Get your predictions in the comments down below. Will they do the double treble? Nubaid.
I think they're losing the Champions League final to someone just on a one-game occasion.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with no, just because I'm just playing the odds here. Like, it just seems quite unlikely that you could really do consecutive trebles. It's hard enough to do one.
I've recently said Liverpool going to win the league. Before the Klopp comments. Could have done without that. I don't think it's helped. But I'm going to stick with Liverpool to win the league. I think Champions League, they'll go out to Arsenal in the semi-finals. And I think they'll win the FA Cup. What do you think, guys?